Hey guys, Ben here with Stringer Bridge Farm. Today I want to show you what I think is one of the biggest mistakes I see people make with electric fencing. Got to pick up this line right here. So one of the ways I do it is I ride along with my mule. I unclip the whole fence and then I reel it all the way up from one end, and then I can go back and pick up the post from the mule. Before we get into what the biggest mistake is, I got a couple things to kind of explain to you about electric fences so we're all kind of on the same page. So when I'm talking about electric fences, I'm talking about the temporary electric. I'm not talking about any high tensile 5 or 6 strand permanent electric fences. I'm talking about this temporary equipment that I use here on my property. And a lot of folks use it. Oh, gotcha. So a lot of folks use this electric fencing, and there's some huge advantages to it. So some of the advantages are, you could use it the way I do, which the primary function I use it for is to break up my permanent paddocks into smaller paddocks. So I use it for cross fencing is my main purpose, and I believe that's what most people will use this temporary electric fencing for. Secondary is sometimes I'll use it to make alleys when I'm moving cattle. Sometimes when I'm trying to get cows in the trailer, you can use it to kind of squeeze them down when you're in the catch pen areas. And then lastly, I would say I do use it occasionally for areas outside of my primary fencing. See me use it around my pond where I planted the annuals this year. You'll see me use it in places like that. But this is what I use. I use this kind of 1/2 inch wide ribbon, and then I use just the regular braided twine. And so what I'm talking about, the mistake I see has to do with dealing with those. And I've got a perfect example of it over here. I'm guilty of making this mistake. I knew better, but I just wasn't paying attention, and I'd forgotten about it. And I'm gonna show you why it's such a big problem. So one of the big things to keep in mind is that electric fencing like that temporary stuff is only a psychological control. So if they only know that they get a little shock from it and they don't like it, they don't enjoy that, so they tend to not interact with it. So if you're talking like a big high tensile electric fence, then yeah, that is actually a physical barrier on top of a psychological barrier. But generally speaking, the electric fencing that I use is purely psychological, and you don't ever want to bring that into question. You don't want them to ever question, is this electric fence going to shock me or not? So if you're like me, if you're rotating your cows with any regularity, even if it's only once per week or once every 2 weeks, you are around your cows a lot. And I'll bet you they are just as friendly as what I have, where my cows generally, I can walk right up to 90% of them and pet them. This full-grown cow right here, I can walk up right up to her and pet her. Generally your cows will get like this if you're around them any amount of time. They know when I show up on my mule, generally it's something good. I might have some fresh mineral to put out for them. Maybe I got a little treat for them. Maybe we're rotating to fresh ground. So the rotating to fresh ground is where you can get into trouble. So cows have so many strange behaviors, I don't even know where to start. One of their weirdest behaviors is actually reaching under fences. I could put them out on the most lush paddock of grass you've ever seen in your life, and they will still reach under that fence as far as they can reach to get every inch of grass that's on the other side, no matter what's on their side. They just do it. I don't know why. And what happens is they're always testing the fence unintentionally. They're not just checking it to see if the fence is on or off or whatever. But what will happen is, by them reaching all the time, if your fence happens to be off, there's a good chance they'll just keep reaching, nothing happens, they'll reach some more, and they'll just continue walking right under it. And what'll happen is this right here. So this is where I have a gate right there normally. And what happened was I put the cows in this field and I'd forgotten to go set that up and close that. Now they couldn't get out of my main pasture, but what it did was I had this section of fence, which this hook was on the fence over there 40 feet away. And I'm assuming a cow came and started leaning under this and literally just walked right through it. It popped the string off the fence, but it trained a cow to know that, oh, that string didn't do anything to me. So the number one mistake is when you have electric fencing that your cows can access to like this, it should have been on. Even if the gate right here was open, I should have had this energized so that they didn't learn that, oh, sometimes it's off and I can just walk right through it. I want them to test the fence as little as possible, which means I have to keep this fence energized all the time when they have access to it. I failed to do that right here, which all I would have had to do, as you can see right there, that reel. I come and hook the reel right here on this piece of wire. There's my little jumper. I clip it. It's literally 30 seconds of work, but now I've trained them that that twine is not all the way on. And the big cows are pretty good. Like a lot of times I can forget and it'll take them a week to figure out it's not on. But you know who figures it out really quick? Is right out there. See these calves? Calves don't know any better. They don't have the years of experience with electric fence like the mama cows do. And so they're, I'm gonna call the dumb ones that just don't know any better, and they're gonna walk right up to the fence and they might even bite it. They're so dumb. But they will test your fences, and they're the ones, they will learn some really bad habits, and they're short. So if you're like me and you're doing single strand electric, then they can get through that fencing very quick, and they learn if you don't keep it on, you will have some trouble. So I screwed up right here. I know I did. I'm gonna do my best to not do that again. So actually what I'm gonna do is, they've already contaminated this whole pasture. So what I'll probably do is just let them have the whole thing for right now, pick that last piece of fence up, and then on the next rotation I'll get back to squeezing them down. But right now I'm having such a hard time with my normal rotation because the ground is so dry. I can't get my fence posts in the ground anymore without breaking them. So I'm hoping we get a rain in the next couple of weeks and I can get one more rotation in, and I'm going to show you guys how we're going to plant some winter grasses, hopefully with minimal tractor work. If y'all remember him, Heartface, with some minimal tractor work, and hopefully get some early spring grazing, because man, we've had a rough summer here where just the lack of moisture has made it so hard on us. But I think we're managing through it. I know I got a couple more weeks of grazing at least, so we'll get into November. I've got my 63 bales of hay, which I think a bale is going to go 2 days. So that should get me, I don't know, somewhere around 120 or 125 days of hay feeding. So that should easily get us into the spring, or at a minimum to some ryegrass, if we can get us some ryegrass planted this fall. So I'll keep you guys in the loop on what we do there, what our decision is, and hopefully it'll all work out for us. But so far so good for us. But yeah, number one mistake is having access to unenergized fence. Will definitely get you in trouble. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and leave a comment if you got any questions.